Hey everyone, welcome back to Today in Tech. I'm Juliette Beauchamp, and I am here with Macworld Executive Editor Michael Simon, as well as Computer World Executive Editor Ken Mingus. We are live on our YouTube channel, IDG Tech Talk, as well as on the LinkedIn page for Computer World. So if you have any questions, comments, please do let us know either in the live chat if you're watching on YouTube or in the comment section if you're watching on LinkedIn, and we will do our best to get back to you. So we got a few things, related certainly topics today. I want to cover, whatever's going on with the iPhone 14. I understand that some maybe specs have leaked or rumors have leaked about it. And I also want to...
You don't say. Leaks.
CAD drawings? Wasn't it actually CAD drawings this time?
Doesn't actually
we actually have an idea what it might look like?
It's that time of year.
Sure.
This is when production, if they want to sell it in September, they don't get it together in July. It's, they're finalizing it and pushing it to their production people. That's why all these leaks happen.
Right.
About now, early spring, late winter is when we really start seeing a full picture of what this phone's going to look like.
So what does it look like? What's it going to look like?
I wonder if
it's going to look like the iPhone 13, basically.
Okay.
So this is Apple's late, ever since the iPhone 6, they find a design that they like and they keep it around for a couple of generations. In the early days of the iPhone, you could pretty much set your clock on every other year. So it was original iPhone, then the iPhone 3G, the iPhone 3GS, the iPhone 4, the iPhone 4S, the iPhone 5, the iPhone 5S, etc. With the iPhone 6, the 6, the 7, and the 8 were patently identical. There was, some small-ish cosmetic changes if you put them next to each other. You could see little things. For the most part, though, they were the same. iPhone 10, iPhone 11 were similar. And now we have iPhone 12, iPhone 13. So iPhone 12 brought that those flat edges, the design language that was introduced, I guess, with the iPad Pro back in 2018, with flat edges and I hesitate to use the word boxy, but it's not very curved.
It's squared off. It's sort of a squared off look, yeah.
And from what we can see, the iPhone 14 is going to look very much like the iPhone 13 with that design. Flat edges, it's a rectangle. That hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
Sizes are going to change though. So the Pro is still going to be the 2, 6.1, 6.7 for the Max. But on the non-Pro side, which is where things start getting interesting. So Apple's looking, based on rumors, to really separate these two lines now by features. And the iPhone non-Pro and the iPhone Pro lines will reportedly have the two of the exact same size. So there's going to be a 6.1 and a 6.1 inch Pro, and a 6.7 Max and a 6.7 Max Pro. So if you're looking to buy an iPhone, size isn't going to be a differentiating factor anymore. And what I mean by that, if you wanted the small one, right now, if you want the small phone, you have to get the non-Pro version.
Mm-hmm.
The 5.4-inch iPhone mini, the iPhone 13, the iPhone 12 mini, is not available in the Pro. And the 6.7-inch Max is not available in the non-Pro. And that creates some confusion, and it creates some frustration because people like big phones. That Max phone is $1,100. I have one, Ken has one. They're not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want them, you shouldn't have to jump to the absolute highest tier just to get a big phone. Not that 6.1 inches is small, because it's still plenty big, but Samsung, Google, OnePlus, they all make big phones that aren't $1,000 plus. And
right.
If you want that size, right now there's no iPhone available. So Apple's, yeah.
I'm just going to ask, in terms of differentiating the different lines, will there be a difference in the types of screens?
Yeah, probably.
Displays?
Probably the same as it is now.
Okay.
The Pro will be ProMotion. They'll both be OLED, obviously. Then I go backwards. But from what I'm reading, the ProMotion, which is how it should be. That's how it is on the iPads as well. The iPad Pro has ProMotion. The iPad Air does not. it's a pro feature, and I think it should stay that way because
Yeah.
if those are the things that matter to you, most people aren't going to care. But if it does, that's a pro feature, 120 hertz screen. There are other phone companies that make 120 hertz in their lower lines, but Apple, I would be surprised if they brought it to the non-pro models this year at least.
Okay.
Gotcha. And I mean, that's probably going to be I mean, obviously, like you said, Mike, the production is happening now, but that's, September. Yeah. Per
Yep,
use.
September, let's say, let me jump to the calendar. I'll
let's
make a prediction.
let's put a hard bet on it. And
I'm going to say
September 14th?
September 13th.
Is that the Tuesday?
The Tuesday, yeah.
all right, well, there you go. I mean, you probably almost certainly did not hear it here first, but
No.
um,
Hey, what about the notch, Michael?
Yeah,
of
so
course.
that's another way that Apple's going to start to really differentiate these phones. So as it stands now, the difference between the Pro and the non-Pro, we have the ProMotion display that we just talked about. The sizes, it's bigger, camera's better, and the chip is slightly better on the Pro. It has a 5-core GPU versus the 4-core GPU on the non-Pro. You got to be doing some real specific things to notice that. But those are the differences. If you want to go to the Pro, so if you compare the 6.1 to 6.1, all right, there's the same size. You're getting stainless steel versus aluminum, so slightly better materials there, better camera, LiDAR and that stuff, and a better display. So those are your differences. With the iPhone 14, we're looking at so the same thing with the display.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's the same size, you're probably going to have ProMotion on that upper display, and the camera, of course, will be better, which we'll talk about in a minute. And the chip. I'm sorry, Ken. What was it? I veered off. What was
Notch.
Notch.
So the chip we'll get into in a second either. Also, but yeah, the notch is going to be vastly different. So on the non-Pro, it's going to look the same. So it's slightly thinner than it was a couple of years ago, but it's still very present. On the Pro models, from what we're seeing, and this is all but confirmed, Apple's going to get rid of the notch and go to what they're calling a hole plus pill setup.
What does that mean?
There's going to be a little hole cut out in the screen for the selfie camera, the front camera, and next to that, there's going to be a little oval. A sideways oval that looks like a pill for the rest of the Face ID components, which is the dot matrix sensor and whatever needs to be in there that it needs to see. Apple is working on a way to get all that under the display, but it's not there yet. Samsung tried it with the Galaxy Z Fold 900, whatever it is, and it wasn't great. It's the technology just isn't there yet to hide the camera and hide all those components while also making them work and also making them invisible. So there's going to be a hole and an oval at the top of the screen. Now it looks like they're relatively deep, so you're probably not gaining anything in the way of usable space, but it'll look nicer and it'll look significantly smaller because right now that notch is pretty big and there's a lot of dead space there. What Apple's basically doing is taking away the dead black space around it. So the status bar will work its way around the camera. So it'll look a lot smaller, but functionally, it'll be about the same.
So what you're saying is basically the display, what people see on the screen, will no longer be completely black and cut out at the top. It'll connect, I guess, is the best way.
Connect above the camera and below.
So the
camera.
pill and the little hole punch will basically float.
Correct.
Near the top. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be centered and floating right near the top of the display, and maybe that gives you another extra status bar icon. Maybe, we haven't seen it yet.
Right.
But if you're taking away that black border and also the way it kind of curves up the horns as they call them, Apple might be able to squeeze in another status bar. My guess is they won't, because that will mean different software for the two phones, and they probably won't do that. But maybe, who knows? Maybe you'll get the battery percentage back. Who knows?
Gotcha.
We'll see what they do with that. My
That's
guess
the
is
one I was just going to say. I was thinking of the various icons that I would want to see back at the top of there. I want that battery percentage number. I hate trying to look at the icon, figure out, do I have 50% or 70% or
Good point.
You have to bring down the control center just to see the number.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pain. My guess is they won't do any of that, and they'll just center the status bar icons as they do.
Horrible.
Great.
So I guess speaking of hardware, perhaps we are maybe one of the things I do want to talk about this potential hardware subscription service because I think that this would be an especially appealing sort of model for, for like an enterprise user to be, or an IT organization to say, we want to lease essentially 100 iPhones for our employees. So, for a little bit of context, this was in the Power On newsletter from Bloomberg, basically saying that, Apple's working on a subscription service for the iPhone, other hardware products that, and this is a direct quote, a move that could make device ownership similar to paying a monthly app fee. So I guess what sort of is the, enterprise implication here? I guess how does this differ? Let's say if you could do it for like a MacBook, Ken, how would this model differ than what currently exists?
Well, subscriptions are huge these days because companies like Apple and Microsoft and others, they like subscriptions because it's a guaranteed stream of revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So they like this idea rather than having a company say come in and buy 100 MacBooks or MacBook Pros for their employees. And a lot of these companies are now on 3 and 4 year replacement cycles. So it's like a one-shot deal for the company, a one-shot deal for Apple. And then, the company basically supports the devices for the next 3 or 4 years and then probably comes back to Apple for more. With this subscription idea, basically Apple's kind of been doing this already with the iPhone. You can buy one and then you turn it in and you buy another one the next year and it's the upgrade program in terms of the iPhone. But for companies, it allows them to quickly supply the latest hardware to their employees and, without a big, huge outlay at the start of the process, and keep relatively modern equipment supported. At least that's how I read it. So I think, it's another option that Apple can offer that allows companies that maybe don't want to spend, whatever it would cost to buy 100 MacBook Pros right now.
Totally.
Right up front, especially I could see it for SMBs, small and mid-sized businesses.
Mm-hmm.
This could be very attractive. It's going to depend on how Apple rolls it out, but I think it's a smart move. Does that sort of dovetail, Michael, with kind of how you understand this thing?
I'm going to tell you, I didn't know that's what SMB stood for.
SMB, small and mid-sized business.
I learned
we love SMBs. We do. No, we do.
Yeah, I don't know about the business side of things, but so as Ken says, Apple has a program in place called the iPhone Upgrade Program. You can buy an iPhone, no money down, 0% interest, spread that cost over 2 years with AppleCare. So you have to get AppleCare Plus with the phone. So it works out to, $30 a month, whatever the cost is. There's no savings involved. You're paying for the full price of the phone. What the program allows you to do is after 12 months, 12 payments, you can upgrade to whatever the new model is. Apple takes the phone, wipes out the rest of the remainder of the bill, and then starts a new one. You can upgrade or downgrade or whatever you want to do. So that is what's in play now. This new program, which was fairly light on the details.
Right.
Yeah.
We the way I see it is it would be not just for iPhones, so iPads, maybe Macs, Apple Watch, and it's more of a flat rate. So let's look at Apple One, the Apple One bundle. You pay $30 a month, and you get this stuff. You keep it you pay for as long as you want to keep it. If I want to cancel it tomorrow, I can. If I want to keep it for the next 10 years, I can. There's no obligation. There's nothing to worry about. There's no end to it. My guess is it's going to be something similar with whatever this program is, in that Apple would say, okay, you get 2 terabytes of iCloud storage, Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, an iPhone 13, and I don't know, Apple Arcade for $65 a month, something like that, where it's a flat fee. It's not just I want to buy an iPhone. You're getting an actual service that repeats, and you don't actually own the thing that you're getting. Like
Right.
the way the iPhone upgrade program is essentially a payment plan. If you don't want to upgrade after 12 payments, you can make the full 24 payments. In
Right. Right.
I assume this program you would never own anything.
It's like the difference between buying a car and leasing a car.
Yeah.
And you know, as you may know, when you lease a car, because the monthly payments are generally lower, you can get into a more expensive car, you know, than you normally would if you had to buy it outright. So it's similar to that. You never really own the car when you lease it, but when you're done with the lease, you turn it in and then you can lease another one. That's sort of similar to the iPhone program. But I think that's the way to think about it. As Mike said, you have this flat fee. It's a lower fee than it would cost you if you had all of these components bought individually. So I do think it has some attraction for business. Again, with the caveat, we don't know what the details are yet.
Right. You know, how much it's going to cost and basically just like what the caveat is.
And what other services that Apple might provide. You know, Apple's been talking a lot about Apple Business Essentials recently.
Right.
And, so there may be other services that they can layer on top, whether that's 24-hour support, 24/7 support, or as Mike says, some iCloud storage, something like that might make it more enticing for companies to buy into this service.
Yeah. That certainly makes a lot of sense. And to the point of sort of what I've been saying, and I think I maybe already mentioned this, is that, it's not sure like what devices specifically it's going to apply to. But I mean, me just looking at it, it seems to make a ton of sense for them to offer, sort of pro or like enterprise level devices like, a MacBook Pro, like an iPhone, I don't know, maybe like an iMac sort of situation, especially for, a small to medium-sized business. I think that's a good point, Ken.
Well, especially if you're, again, and I guess I'm thinking more SMBs right now, but, these high-end MacBook Pros, the ones with like the M1 Max chip or, something with an M1 Ultra maybe, they can get really expensive.
Totally.
So if you can find a way to basically get that into a customer's hands without them doing the outlay of that initial, that big price tag, then it sort of opens up the door. Again, it's the idea you can get a more expensive car. If you lease it, you can get a more expensive Mac with this kind of program. Yeah. Again, we'll see. But
it's also worth noting that, so the iPhone upgrade program, first of all, it's only available for the iPhone. There's nothing like that available for other devices. And that's a credit check. So you have to have a decent enough credit score where they are comfortable that you're going to pay for the life,
right,
for the full price of whatever you're buying. Apple Card has, things built into it, 3 months, 6 months. There's nothing like this for anything other than the iPhone, and there's nothing like this for people who maybe can't afford to shell out $1,500, $2,000, $1,100, whatever the cost of a higher end phone is. Certainly not like a $2,000 or $4,000 Mac Studio. And this, if it is the way I understand it, like Ken said with the car leasing, I can't afford to buy a $70,000 BMW, but I can afford to lease one over the course of 3 years. So
totally,
it would absolutely lower the barrier of entry for those higher end devices, and also really make some of those smaller devices attractive. Like maybe an Apple Watch is $12 a month or something, like that. It's that rent to own, lease to own thing, and some people say, oh, it's they're just taking money from you and you don't own anything. Fine, it doesn't matter. It's established that people do the last 15 years. I have never owned one. I don't care. Some people do. Fine, it's not for you, but I think it could work in this instance.
And I think it's also locking someone into the ecosystem who maybe wasn't using it before, whether that is like an everyday consumer or an enterprise user. I mean, if you're going to go, rent a fleet of 20 MacBook Pros, and in 2 or 3 years you want to update something else. You've already got 20 of them. Let's just get 20 of the new ones or whatever it is. So I mean, that's obviously appealing on the business
it's a good
side.
excuse for people to try out something new.
Yeah, true.
Like the Mac Studio, for example. It's $2,000, $2,000. That's a big expense up front. If it's $45 a month for 2 years, that's it's a lot more palatable, especially for smaller businesses and people who are able to afford such things, but not able to afford all at once.
Sure. And you
We'll
realize
see what it looks like, but it's very intriguing.
Yeah. And you can figure out if you can or cannot live without it, and whether or not it's making a difference to you. So that's probably appealing too. So thank you both so much for calling in and chatting. I really appreciate it.
I realized I teased a bunch of stuff and I never talked about it, but we can talk about it next week.
To it. Well,
with the iPhone chip stuff. See, that's the problem we have. Plan ahead.
Camera bump, new chip. You know what? There will be time to discuss, I'm certain. So future facing. So something to look forward to.
I didn't say later meant this show.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for calling in and chatting. Like I said, a lot of good info. Definitely. I mean, as with a lot of things, sort of like a wait and see situation, but especially on the hardware subscription service, I think that's pretty interesting to see, and like how they would even unveil that. So appreciate it. And thank you all so much for watching this episode of Today in Tech. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up. And if you're watching on LinkedIn, you can head over to our YouTube channel, IDG Tech Talk. You can give the video a thumbs up there, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon so you're notified every single time we post a new video. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, opinions, whatever, and you want to let me know, do let me know in the comments below, and I will do my best to get back to you. Thanks again.